My name's Dr. Larissa Allwork. I'm Associate Professor in History and Impact at the University of Derby, and I lead the Impact team in the University Research and Knowledge Exchange Office. And today I'm going to be talking you through how the University of Derby's KEF Public and Community Engagement Statement helped shape our application to be considered for an NCCPE Watermark award. I think at Derby, our public and community engagement is so wide-ranging, but I think that where we have particular expertise is in terms of widening access and participation, and that's both at the level of doing engagement, which is more kind of purely schools focused, but also through the work of something like our Institute of Education, research informed as well. So I think that that's a really kind of key element of what we do. And I think as well, another area where we're really kind of pushing the boundaries in terms of engagement is the way in which students engaging with employers is really integrated throughout our curriculum. And so I think that that's another area in which we are kind of really quite ahead of the curve in terms of what we're doing in terms of public engagement. I'll kind of speak through today three main stages, I think, in terms of putting together our KEF Public and Community Engagement Statement. So writing and support, writing the KEF statement itself, and then the links that's had to the NCCPE Watermark process. So I guess the first things to say a little bit about the support needed to begin that process of writing the public and community engagement statement, because obviously for this iteration of KEF it was a completely new experience, and as a new component in a framework, it very much took me back to those days when we were first writing REF impact case studies for the REF 2014 assessment. So there was very much a sense for me that writing the statement was unprecedented. And so the guidance offered by Paul Manners and Sophie Duncan at NCCPE as part of a number of training sessions that they ran with different organisational bodies in the run-up to the submission of the KEF statements were really, really invaluable in providing guidance on how to approach the statement. And I think in particular in talking through the logic model which related to the EDGE tool which NCCPE use, talking through that model, explaining it to people who were writing the statement was really helpful guidance, and certainly helped me in terms of how I approached writing the statement for my institution. I now kind of want to talk about kind of writing the KEF statement itself, the actual process of doing it. So I agreed at my institution to be responsible for writing the KEF Public and Community Engagement Statement, but it's also really important to say that it was a highly collaborative process. So by that I mean that a lot of strategy documents and data was needed from a wide variety of sources across the University of Derby, and this meant that in terms of putting the statement together and collating the evidence for the statement, I needed to work with a wide variety of internal stakeholders. So that included our head of regional development and policy, who was responsible for writing the local growth and regeneration template. It also meant that I needed to work closely with our head of corporate communications, who does a lot of the engagement work in relation to the civic university agenda. I also had a lot of correspondence with our head of widening access, who does so much important work in relation to engaging with schools. And also our head of employer and community engagement, who's very much responsible for student work placements at the University of Derby and how we engage with employers in relation to those. So all of these people played a really, really key dynamic in bringing our statement together. And also, as part of writing the statement, there was a lot of consultation with very, very sort of senior management as well. So that particularly came into play during the analysis of the self-assessment scores. So there was also a lot of consultation, not only with our head of regional development, as talked about before, but also she was known then as the Dean of Research, but she's now our Associate Provost, Innovation and Research. So she also really helped us in terms of thinking through what those self-assessment scores should look like. And also it was very important that our statement went through internal validation and governance processes. So, it needed to go through University Innovation and Research Committee and also our Vice-Chancellor's Executive, so that it had the requisite assurance processes before submission. And I guess, that would be my call to all PEPs who might be kind of watching this video to really bear in mind those processes before you start writing something like these statements, because, they do take time to work through, and it is important for the validity of the statement that they go through these internal processes before external submission. And then I guess the final thing that I want to talk about in this sort of short piece for you is also sort of future steps and some of the legacies of the public and community engagement statement at the University of Derby. So I think that one of the key legacies is that it brought together and fostered collaboration between the team who would go on to work on our NCCPE Watermark submission, which we're completing at the moment. So that nucleus of professional services staff who I kind of spoke about at the beginning of this talk are very much playing a kind of important role in our watermark submission. I think it also was really important as a document in providing the first steps for us thinking through what our institutional application form for the NCCPE Watermark would become. So it's the KEF statement is almost like a kind of very miniature, less detailed version of the much kind of more rigorous process that the NCCPE Watermark institutional application form is. But nonetheless, it's sort of really, really helpful in kind of providing a blueprint for helping you to approach that much more rigorous and more detailed document. And finally, I think that the public and community engagement statements formal recognition as part of the KEF process is actually really important, because I think our institution, it helped us to get buy-in from the knowledge exchange team who were putting together the knowledge exchange Concordat. And it helped us to kind of get recognition of the importance of public and community engagement to those knowledge exchange processes, and the way in which completing something like the NCCPE Watermark would be a really important strategic move for our organisation. So I guess what I'm saying is that there's been a lot of positive legacies from us engaging with the process of putting together the KEF Public and Community Engagement Statement for the University of Derby.